Hello, beautiful people. How are you today? I just wanted to do a video, really kind of documenting what's been going on with me. So, in case something happens to me, or being good or bad, I'll just have a good record of it, and it just makes it easier for people to go back and listen to it and remember and find out what happened when and how things actually took place in this person's life, because the next day isn't promised for any of us, and who knows, I could get a movie deal or shot. So anyway, today was a very difficult day for me. My memory is coming back due to countless amount of exercises, mental exercises, and literally battling demonic CIA spells and mind caps that they put in me as a child. Now, one of the things that I do remember as a child, today specifically, is when it first happened. When the CIA came into my life, killed my father, and put me under mind control because I saw what they did. I don't know why they didn't kill me. I think it was because I was a child, and actually I was old enough, or not old enough, to not be ready for mind control. But because they didn't administer it from the age of 2 years old like they did Laurel Aston, it's breaking down. Now, the memory that I do have, as of right now, there was a man named Abba. He goes by Bruce also. He started the Church of the Kabbalah. He was my next door neighbor in Humble, Texas. Atascocita is the housing subdivision that we lived in, which was a very rich housing subdivision. Woody Harrelson actually lived there at the time too. George Lucas lived there at the time. This was shortly before the release of the first Star Wars. From what I remember, my father, he was an architect, and a really good one. And Abba, who was our next door neighbor, who was actually really good friends with Lucas, who lived down the street with his son Chris and his wife, I guess Abba had asked my father to draw up what I know now as a lightsaber. They hadn't given it a name. The instructions from Lucas, what he envisioned, was just, given to my father, and my father was asked to draw it because he was an architect. So he drew it up. So I remember coming into his office that was downstairs in the front room, the same place where they killed him. I remember a day or two before this happened, he had asked me what I thought of the piece of paper. It was on a graph piece of paper with blue lines, and he drew it. And I said, "What is it?" And he said, "Oh, it's a prop for a movie. It's a kind of a sword. You push it and a light comes out, and it's for a movie. And that's what I said. And I said, well, can it really work? And he looked at me and said, well, I don't know. Why don't you think about it and you tell me if it could work? And so I looked at it. And I looked at the schematics, and I was just a little kid. And I was very much into martial arts, cars, music, and science. As a little kid I was. So I looked at what my father had drawn, and I gave him a very simple explanation. I said, so light is supposed to bounce out, right? And he said, yeah. So I remembered how I love to take apart the flashlight. Because if you look at the flashlight, it is just bounced light out of the front part of the flashlight. And I always loved that. I thought it was so simple. So I said, okay, well, if you do this, you would have to use the same thing as a flashlight, but it would have to be something tougher to reflect the light if it's supposed to be like a laser. Because he said it's supposed to be some kind of laser sword or something like this. And so I said you put a laser at the bottom of the flashlight, which would probably have to have an energy source somewhere, but you would have to put it inside so the energy source doesn't get hit by the bouncing light, and you can bounce the light, several times and build up the charge, and then somehow have the charge go out of the top part of the saber and then back around, and it's a circling charge. So it just doesn't discharge. And so he looked at me, and I thought he was going to say, oh, that's so stupid, and blah, 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 blah. And the way he looked at me, he was just amazed. He said, that just might work. So he went and left to our next door neighbor's house and started talking to him and gave him the paper. And 2 days later, it was late at night, I came in from outside because the sun was just going down, and I was playing in the bayou, riding my bike with Lucas's son Chris. And I put my bike up, and I came in around the back because I put my bike in the backyard. And I came around the corner because I heard some noise in my father's office, and I thought it was my dad. And right when I came around the corner, I witnessed a flash of light, and from what I can remember, my father's head fell to the ground. And there was no blood, there was nothing, and I screamed like, what the fuck have you done, blah, 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 because I just saw my father's head roll on the ground. It looked like it was fake, but it was real. And there was no blood, and the head looked at me, the eyes still moved. The mouth was like open. I won't forget it. And the head told me to run because I was just shocked. And I ran. I ran out the back door. George Lucas, ran out the front door, and Abba ran out the back door after me. And Lucas was waiting around the other side of the fence, and he hit me really hard, and I got knocked out. I just remember because my memory of the situation was Bruce was still chasing me, and I was really fast. He wouldn't have caught me. So it had to be Lucas that went around out the front door to the back and caught me at the fence, because it's a shorter distance, because my backyard was very large and I had to get the gate open. So as much as I can figure, it had to be Lucas that hit me. And after that, my life got really strange. There was a man in my house that wasn't my father. I knew it wasn't my father. This man started beating my family, beating my mother, beating me just every time this man would come home from a business trip, because he was barely home after this. All of a sudden he got really, really busy, and he was gone for like sometimes a month and a half, 2 months at a time, like supposedly working. And then every time he would come home, we would know when he was coming home to have the house clean, and the house would be clean, and he would like look for something to just blow up and start beating everyone. From what I learned, this is typical tactics of CIA mind control. Because this man, Jamal Kennard, and whatever other stand-in agent that they had to replace my father, this was the standardized mechanism that they would do. So our family and me would be so consumed by fear, we wouldn't question who or what this man was. I think my mother figured it out, and when she figured it out, she left the house. I specifically remember she left that house for like 2 weeks, and we were with that man for 2 weeks, and it was absolutely horrific, and we didn't think she was coming back. Sometimes I wish she never came back, because I think she knew. She came back for us. And after that, she separated from him, and we moved into a house in the valley. It was a house that he bought, though, in one of the nicest neighborhoods in Harlingen, Texas. And it was actually in this house where him and my mother actually tried to reconcile things, but I mean, literally, this man moved us into a CIA indoctrination area in Harlingen, Texas, because he put me in a school that was run by a woman named Gail Anderson. Gail Anderson ended up being hunted by police for faking her identity, faking her school records, and just being a complete fraud. One day we ended up just coming to that school and there was no one there. The whole house was empty. The school was in a house. And there was like maybe 20 kids that went to school at this school, and we were all had like one big room where we would all learn together. All different ages. So this man put me in this school, and I remember Gail Anderson would always make problems for me. She would always call my father. I remember one time when he came up to the school and brought a paddle, and he literally took me into Gail's office and beat me so everyone could hear. And then the next day when I got home, I had long hair down to my shoulders. He picked me up by my hair and cut holes in my head. Well, in my scalp. Again, this is CIA mind control, administering more fear into the subject to bury the memory of them killing my father. And this is what they did. So as I got older, those memories became more and more buried. I remember the older I got, whenever I would think about my childhood, it would just be like a black space. Nothing there. I mean, it was just weird. I would want to go, I would remember being in this one place, but connecting memory to memory, it would just be black. Like darkness. Like nothing there. So, to make a long story short, to continue the mind control on my family, well, my mother, she finally left this Sith, whatever it was, whoever he was, and she took care of us, raising 4 kids on her own. My grandfather helped her buy a house in Harlingen. We moved into a small house, and then this man continued to stalk us. So then my mother moved us back to Houston, and we lived in a 1-bedroom apartment while she would work night and day. So then this man came back into our lives trying to apologize and said, oh, okay, I will buy you a townhome in Spring Branch so you guys won't have to worry about anything. And so my mother said, okay. He moved us back into another heavy occult area. It was 781 Country Place Drive, right off the street Memorial in Spring Branch. If you know this area, you will know that the notorious Marble Mansion is in the neighborhood across the street from where I lived. Marble Mansion was known for having huge occult-like parties, shooting massive orgies and pornography because the mansion was all marble. It was owned by a huge drug dealer from what I remember. And when Bush became president, Marble Mansion was taken over by him. Supposedly the feds went in and took it over, and Bush bought the mansion. and it became, the Bush's marble mansion in secret. But still, supposedly, the drug activity never ceased. So this is when I was going to Stratford, Spring Forest, surrounded by a lot of people that you people know in Hollywood. It's always been the Hollywood occult that's always been around me, because the man Abba, who I saw take my father's head, is a shadow writer for Lucas. He wrote Silence of the Lambs. This man also started the Church of the Kabbalah that Madonna belongs to. It's a satanic church. This man has open doors in Hollywood wherever he goes. I also witnessed later on in life, when I will get to my Mendocino adventure, that a helicopter just coming into Mendocino Mountains and picking this man up and dropping this man off at his mountain getaway in Mendocino, Ukiah Hills, Hill Valley, So I want you to get a clear picture of what took place. So after we moved into an all-white area, a heavy CIA occultist area, because the guys were so racist and so proud that their daddy was in the CIA. I went to school with Kane Halliburton. This was before Dick Cheney worked for Halliburton. I'm talking about Kane Halliburton of the Halliburton family. If you didn't know, Halliburton is an actual family. So these are the people that I went to school with, the same people that were involved in 9/11, because Halliburton is the company who single-handedly made the most money and still is making the most money from the 9/11 war, and that's a fact. Dick Cheney brokered the biggest multi-million, now multi-trillion-dollar deal with a weapons manufacturer company and the U.S. government, and still today that company is Halliburton. So to give you an idea of, this area that I was moved into by the CIA, posing as my father. So then things kind of got okay, because he wasn't in our life. I started to live a little bit. So I started to make my name as a DJ, and this was very bad for the CIA, because this brought publicity to me. This made people stand up and look at me, and if I were to ever get really a little bit famous and have people looking into my background, that would be a problem for them. So I want you to understand that they sent a man into my mother's life, because my mother would go out dancing all the time with my sister. I love to dance too. She met a man named Wilbur Jackson. Wilbur Jackson used to be Marvin Gaye's background singer. He grew up with Marvin Gaye. He was Marvin Gaye's drummer and Marvin Gaye's first band in high school. Wilbur Jackson was the antagonist into Marvin Gaye's murder. What I mean by antagonist is Wilbur Jackson felt he was owed more money by Marvin and actually wanted money for royalties. And one day, at a bar, he saw Marvin's father, and he started talking to Marvin's father and explaining to him royalties and how Marvin wouldn't give him what he thought he should, and even to back his claims up, he started telling Marvin's father, yeah, he even owes you because you're his dad. I've been with him since high school, and look at how he's treating me, and look at how you're living, and blah, 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 blah. He's traveling here and here, and they're doing big shows now, and you know. So Wilbur got a little bit jealous when Marvin was doing gigs by himself and didn't need the whole, you know, entourage. So Marvin's father, excuse me, one night in a drunken slumber had words with Marvin and shot his son. That was due to Wilbur Jackson. Wilbur Jackson also was the man who introduced Joe Jackson to Quincy Jones, because he already had the contacts through Marvin, and he was already singing with Motown. So after Marvin died, Wilbur had to think of something to do, and he became a DJ in Detroit. So we all know what happened after that with Michael Jackson. But what most people don't know is Quincy Jackson is a homosexual, bisexual, whatever, pedophile. He's in the Illuminati. He indoctrinated Joe Jackson into the Illuminati. Joe Jackson indoctrinated his children into the Illuminati. His children being Michael Jackson, Janet, Jermaine, Tito, Marlon, Randy, LaToya, all of them. So this is the Jacksons, my stepfamily. So Wilbur Jackson has always been and will always be the evil antagonist. The man in the Jackson family that was always, you owe me. If you don't owe me, I'm going to get you. And this is what he was. This is who he is. My mother married this man after knowing him for a month. She met this man, and I remember I had a nervous breakdown because, I'll be honest, I did some mushrooms and I got my memory back. And literally, from the things I remembered, I couldn't speak because I broke their first cap. And from what I was remembering, I didn't know what was real and what wasn't real. And remember, I was still under mind control, not remembering that they had killed my father. So then here was all these memories of these men and these things and the killing of my father and hearing all this stuff, and it was just, I broke down. I couldn't speak. I couldn't speak for almost 2 weeks. My mother had the police come to my room, break down my door, literally take me out of my room, and take me to a hospital. Wilbert Jackson told her to do this. So then, while I'm in the hospital, I go from 150 pounds to 217 pounds in 2 weeks. Then I get out and my mother tells me that she married this man, Wilbur Jackson, who I don't know if that was really my mother, because they put me on so much drugs. My sister, she had left home to go live with another man who actually grew up with the Jacksons, Gary Green. He knew the Jacksons from high school. And I learned this long after my sister had a man with this, or had a child with this man. So I suspect they possibly killed my mother when I was in the hospital locked up. Because when your mind cap breaks, it sends out a signal and they know. So they were so afraid of me talking, and they don't know if I told my mom anything. And literally, I was such a drone when I got out, I wouldn't have remembered if this was my mom or not. I was so doped up, and that's part of the process. My other sister was sick with cancer. She was so sick and doped up, she wouldn't know. Then my little brother, he was being handled by my father, and from what I remember, he was hanging out with the Black Disciples, who had him hooked on heroin. So if you look at the whole situation, it's a perfect way to just keep everybody doped up so they don't know that you're off the mall, and then send in another replacement. This is what they do. They have this shit down to a science, and we were living in a occult area. Another fact is, I had this friend named Chris Treadway. His father was the son of a relocated Nazi from Operation Paperclip, and Chris's father would rape Chris. Chris would come over to my home at night when his father would go out drinking, because his father would come home drunk and rape him. So my mother finally asked me one night, why is Chris keep sleeping on the downstairs couch? And I told her. So my mother ended up telling a bunch of friends at work what was going on, because the area is not that small, you know? So then it got out that Chris's father was a pedophile and raped Chris, and he lost his job at NASA. So also this could have been retaliation for that, and they probably wanted to kill my mom anyway, because she was just a loose end, and they had to have somebody in there that they were controlling, and they controlled the situation, and which was basically me, because I was an eyewitness to what they did. I still to this day can't understand why they just didn't kill me. But from what I can understand is my martial arts training that I went through, and that the things I learned from my Vietnamese friends, and I also grew up with another friend, Val. His brother was a ninjutsu instructor. So from the things that I learned from these people, just small things here and there, these things literally saved my life at specific points in time in my life, which didn't allow me to die or get killed or to lose a fight. So, as time progresses, I realize that my stepbrother is a hitman, and my mother is living with a fucking devil named Wilbur Jackson. He started the Shrine of the Black Madonna, which teaches black masonry and occultism. It started in Detroit, and he brought it to Houston. It is a non-profit money laundering front organization. They launder the money that they get from the government through the Shrine of the Black Madonna. I learned that through looking through Wilbur's papers and blank uncashed checks from various people. Also, the dealings of my stepbrother became more and more prevalent to me after the killing of Notorious Big. Notorious Biggie was basically the beginning of the breakdown of their programming. Full breakdown. Because my stepbrother was out of the town when Biggie was shot, number one. Number two, his wife left him a month later. Number three, nobody could find him anywhere 3 weeks after Notorious Big was shot. I remember the HPD calling my house every day because he didn't report to work. They wanted to know what was going on, and basically Cliff was the trainer of Puff Daddy's security at the time. So his alibi was he needed to be there to protect Puffy and to make sure nothing happened. That's bullshit. He shot me. Now, you're probably wondering, how do I know he shot Biggie? Because of this, what I'm about to tell you. Now, I'm going to go through events that happened that surrounded this whole entire time that are somewhat spiritual, that are physical, and which led me to believe he did this. Because there were other spirits, otherworldly things at work during this time trying to save me. Literally. And they did. I remember being at the computer when this all first happen. And this was after I lived in San Francisco for a little while and ran out of San Francisco by homosexual military faggots. My roommate was a bisexual military faggot who assaulted me, and the cop said, "You better be glad you didn't hit him, or these homosexual cops would have beat you up." I was outraged by this. I had no money, packed all my records, drove back to Texas. So, I want you to understand that one day I was sitting at a computer in my mother's home after coming back from San Francisco, living there for a while, and being around the top dancers, Rob and Mar, Fab. Those are the guys, those are the best dancers. Samoans, that Madonna went on Madonna's last tour, danced with Michael. I also met the Russian guy that Michael discovered in Russia. He came down to check out my dancing. I'm a really good dancer. So these are the people that I was socializing with in San Francisco, from my cousin Michael. So, to make a long story short, back to when I was sitting at the computer, I remember I was listening to a Biggie, the Notorious Big song. And I was reading things on the internet about it. And then literally, I felt like this stabbing in the side of me. And from what I heard or on the spiritual realm, he stabbed me too. And this kept going on in my head. Now I want you to understand my great-grandmother, she was a white voodoo witch. And my mother was very clairvoyant. And this side of me I was always kind of scared of, but I always knew I had it because there were certain things in my life and my past that really proved to me I did have this. So then I started to look into Notorious Big's murder, exactly what happened with him, and found out there were just a lot of inconsistencies, and I kept putting these inconsistencies with my stepbrother. Now, let me remind you, at the time, I did not know that my stepbrother was Puffy's security. I didn't know this. I didn't know this till well after I learned that he was the possible shooter. Because of my stepbrother Mark opening his mouth and, "Yeah, Cliff knows Puffy. Cliff got Puffy on the speed dial, man. And Cliff and Puffy are like this." So I learned that from asking questions to Mark about, do you think, he can help me out and get some tracks published, and I've been doing hip hop and stuff like this. And he said that. So to make a long story short, I started to really believe that my stepbrother was the shooter. Because of his wife leaving him, because he had a huge home in Katy, Texas, which is an exclusive, pretty wealthy neighborhood area, right outside the cliffs. Now, his name is Gregor Jackson, and he has a twin brother who works for the city. Now, his twin brother works for the city in street construction, people. Street construction. And so my other stepbrother is a Marine Black Ops cop that has a brother that works in street construction. So what does this sound like? Already, mafia, right? Right. So just to start testing this theory and to see what people would do. I'm a scientist. I believe in testing my theories, and there's only one way to test the theory. I'm a DJ. So I want people to realize, how does a DJ test the theory like this? You speak in a largely open spot and to see what happens. This is what I did. Now, I'm going to turn the tables. And so I took two records and started mixing them and playing them together, just to see the look on people's faces, because Cliff, from what I have started to understand, he knew the upscale part of music, like the high rollers. So I would play one of Notorious big songs, Who Shot You? Anybody heard that song? And then I would mix it with the KRS's one, Black Cop. And I would go back and forth, and I literally would like talk with these two songs, and it scared the ever-living crap out of people. I mean, literally, the looks on people's faces, and it was like everyone knew. Seriously. But no one would talk. This is my stepbrother Cliff. It's like, it's like mafia. It's like everybody knows, but nobody will talk about it. And then here I was playing the Notorious big song, Who Shot You? With KRS's song, Black Cop. And then chopping up the lyrics and then taking down the volume at specific parts, and I would scream, "Cliff Jackson!" Oh man, this literally brought my stepbrother to my home. Word got out what I was doing at my gigs. I lost all my gigs. I was working at a high-scale club. I mean, I had people coming up to me, shaking my hand when I was doing this. Tiger Woods' brother came up, or his brother came up to me in the club, and he even knew it, and he knew what I was doing, and no one could believe it. Everybody knows Cliff. He's a hitman for the entertainment industry. So I didn't know how big he was, and after doing this, I saw how notorious and big he was. Literally. I mean, Houston, you really don't know about the black clubs and the upscale clubs. I worked at Spy. At one time and point, I worked at Spy, the VIP, and Dennis Rodman and Carbon Electra were in there making out. Spy was a club that was owned by Gary James. Gary James was the man that built Florida. When I say built Florida, I mean built up the cocaine, drug trade. That's Gary James. Gary James moved down to Houston. And his ex-buddy opened up a Spy, and he got busted. That was just like the highest of high-scale clubs. These are the places where I was playing, people. They all knew. So I want you to understand that after I did this, Cliff came over to my mother's house, shot off his gun, started screaming obscenities at me with his sister Dana Jackson, who is the big singing DJ of Magic 102 at the time. Magic 102 is the largest, and still to this day in Houston, the largest, most listened to black radio station in Houston. It's my family, the Jacksons. So here I was, the big drum and bass DJ, the biggest drum and bass DJ in Texas, from the radio scene, doing this against them. Everybody lives. So after this, they came into my house, shot off the guns and stuff. I put records in front of my door so there's no way they could open them. I went out the window and I became a ghost. Lived on the streets. And the cops, he sent plenty of cops to come and try to pick me up off the street. And this was even during the time when the Super Bowl was in Houston. Because I strongly think they passed the law to pick up all homeless people and throw them in jail. Houston passed this law. So they were literally taking all homeless people and throwing them in jail. And I was homeless. This is when Homeland Security came down and the CIA was everywhere. So then they would try to send in their cops because people would call, I think there's a homeless guy, and two cops would show up. I'd start rapping like this. Hey cops, what's up pigs? You don't know who I am, and it's like this. I'm the cousin of Officer Cliff. You better go back to your car and take a fucking whiff. Because I know Officer Cliff stays by the cliffs in Katy, Texas. I wonder what's in the cliffs. Maybe the gun that he shot Biggie with. It's like this. They don't want to hear it. They don't want to know it. But I spit it like this over and over, again and again, until their bullshit would end, and the cops would walk off. It's like that. And I was emceeing sometimes all day to keep me awake because they just kept coming, but everybody knew Cliff. And then there would be like, oh, you're his brother? Yeah, I'm a stepbrother. Then they back up because even the cops were afraid of Cliff. Because the cops would want to work with Officer Cliff because Officer Cliff ran their security details for all the superstars when they came into Houston. So the CIA and Cliff wasn't expecting this. Okay, it's like, okay, we got this black guy that, arrest him anyway, but he's Officer Cliff's stepbrother. They're not going to say that openly. So then when they would get there, I'd let them know, and they wouldn't touch me. So that's how I got out of Houston. I took a bus, and even on the bus at the train, or at the bus station, they sent a hitman at me. He got off the bus from Vegas, and he was supposed to nice and quietly put a nice little slug in me, nice and silent. But check out what I did. I have like a sixth sense, I'm not kidding. And I saw this guy, and he was looking for me, and I knew he was looking for me. And he was in, the nice little $300 jumper. He was all relaxed and stuff. Big Italian mafia looking guy. So he got his gun holster under the jacket. I knew it, So I walked up to him and I said, "You looking for me?" The look on his face was, how are you supposed to deal with, okay, you probably got a phone call and a picture of this guy in the bus station, and you're supposed to stop him from getting on the bus and way you can, you getting paid for it, and then this guy walks up to you and says, "You looking for me? I know why you're here. Don't even think about it. Because if I know that you are here, who do you think else is watching this right now? Either get back on your bus, go to your fucking mafia buddies, tell them fuck off, keep their fucking money, and don't ever fucking bother me again." This is what I got told. He walked off. He was in shock. Everybody else around me that heard this happen was in shock. But literally, hey CIA fucks, you know this is what I do. I can see you coming a mile away. So, anyway, I ended up living on the streets in San Francisco. I got picked up by Jamal Kennard. Jamal Kennard was one of my father's first replacements. I knew Jamal Kennard from Atascocita. His family knew mine. But Jamal supposedly disappeared, went off somewhere, and came back, and he was one of my father's first impersonators. Jamal Kennard is a CIA assassin. I learned this because Jamal Kennard came and picked me up off the streets, told me he had a job for me. He got this girl pregnant. Her name was Jade. I still cannot remember these people's last name because they're involved in the murder of my father. Jade's father is Bruce Abba, the man that killed my father. The man that this whole thing is about. So he takes me up to their house in Mendocino. They rented this house in Mendocino, and Bruce had a house up in the mountains of Mendocino where he grew his weed, legal weed. So I go to work for them, save some money. Jade has her baby. Jamal and Jade go to Africa. I'm left to work there with Bruce and Mike. One day, me and Mike are putting up some fences to protect the ganja. And Mike starts asking me about my past. He was fishing. See what I remember. Actually, I'm not sure that that's true because of Mike's reaction when I told him about my father. And I told him, yeah, my father worked for Amway. My father, he was the head salesman rep for Amway, and I told him that's what hit me, that I'd been up to Mendocino before with my father. And so right when that happened, Mike, I realized one or two things because the look on his face was like, oh, I forgot I left something down at the house. He went down and talked to Abba. Because I had gotten a memory back. I had gotten a memory back from my father taking me to Mendocino. Before they killed my father was a traveling salesman for Amway. We would drive all throughout the United States, and he would meet with some of the most richest and powerful people to sell them Amway. Amway was the first quote-unquote environmentally safe company, which it wasn't. My father actually got out of working for Amway because he found out Amway was using, or actually to make Amway's products, they would have to take toxic stuff out, and the way they would dispose it would be harmful to the earth. So to get this product, that wouldn't mess with you, you'd have to take out all these toxins, and the way they disposed of it was bad for the earth, and my father left Amway because of this. But Mike at the time realized I got the memory back that I'd been up there with my father. And this was the problem because I suspect Mike was probably the guy that came in to help get rid of my father's body, because Mike was military, and that's just the kind of guy he took me as, the muscle for Abba. So then Bruce came up, and he started talking to me, trying to ask me questions, trigger me, see what I was remembering. And sure enough, my memory fully came back, and I started to remember exactly who Abba was. He was my next door neighbor as a child. But the memory of my father being killed did not resurface. Probably years after this. All I remembered was this man was the same man that was my next door neighbor, that was friends with George Lucas, and that, was the person to ask my father to draw the lightsaber. Other than that, I didn't remember anything. So Jamal gets back. I got my memory back. I had said something to Abba it literally scared the shit out of him, because he couldn't kill me. Because one of the things that I was doing in Mendocino is I was a tap dancer. And Mendocino has a park, a beautiful wildlife park. And to get to the wildlife park, you have to walk through this wooden path. So when I was at the house in Mendocino by myself, away from Abba's place, I would go to that path and tap dance. Now, Mendocino is a mountain area, and everything echoes. So when I was tap dancing, it was like the most incredible sounds, just echoing all throughout Mendocino, because it was so loud. And everybody started to ask, what the hell is that? What's going on? Who was doing that? So I did this to protect myself, because they thought that they were going to bring me up there, kill me off nice and quietly, and then have nobody miss me. But because I brought the noise with the feet, and then we would go down to the shores of Mendocino and tap dance on the seed vent to let people know that was me up there, that they were listening to from the mountains that was echoing down. They could not. So what they did do is they put me on the streets in Mendocino, Kaya, and I was homeless there, living in basically a shopping cart for bags on the streets, which there were several attempts on my life. by fucking low-life scumbags that they pay. I mean, literally one night I had to fight off two guys. The cops came. My arm was cut up from blocking a hit to my arm, and literally, the cops started wondering what was up. One specific cop knew something was going on. So then after that, cops started asking questions. A dirty cop came, ran my ID, comes back 30, 45 minutes later and picks me up and throws me in jail, beats me heavily. And I wake up unconscious in a cell with no clothes and a plastic vest. They basically tried to put me away because they said that some girl said that I threw a rock at her car. And I told the doctor who came in to see me after I was beaten what was going on, and he let some people know outside what was going on. And then after a month of me being locked up, he got me a lawyer. He got me out on a patient watch thing. All I had to do was make sure I went and talked to him, and he should still have those files on record today because I basically told him about this. And to make a long story short, finally, after my lawyer was able to see the evidence from the cops, getting to run around, it was clear that it was a key mark on her car, not a rock mark, and so they threw the case out. I made a little money working for Alpha, and I went to Romania. Got a ticket, got on the bus, went to Romania, but that's not after the cops had stolen my bag from me. They stole the bag that had all my paperwork in it. Go figure, huh? So, anyway, I leave to Romania because before I became homeless, I sent a kind of like an SOS to the Romanian consulate stating who my brother was, what he was, and if they could help me. And they said that they can't do anything until I get to their country. So this is what happened to me, people. And I go to Romania, live there for a few years. I ended up getting a girlfriend. The cartel wants me to work for them again. I tell them no. My girlfriend gets murdered, comes up missing. Same day, Michael Jackson died as my cousin. Takes me 2 years to find out what happened to her. I find out And to make a long story short, I went to Paris to deal with the fucking Rothschilds because they're actually the people that is behind all this, the power behind the hand, you know, Nazis. And I found out that this is about the black reparations lawsuit, me being actual royalty and my family being descendants of black foot and being more Olmecs, and they just basically killed them off they just with low life scumbags. So, you know, basically, if there was ever a blood test done with me or any of these people, they don't have my blood. So, you know, they would probably say, oh, well, his blood doesn't match this person, or his mother, or his father, and he's in the imposter. If it ever came to who really should be the rightful heir to the money. So that is like the CIA's last plan into keeping me out of my rightful inheritance. With these fake shields still running around, acting like my family that they killed off. So by me stating this right now, they know that that's not going to work. That's why they still have the people impersonating my family members, because it's getting close to the point where people are starting to realize that I'm really telling them the truth, and that the fact of the matter is I'm working with a lot of my money, and when I get that money, then here comes their CIA so-called family shills putting out their hands and wanting to protest whether I am capable of handling my own assets and well, this is what they did to Laura last. They use CVs and billion and rape areas to get rape babies out of her and to declare her incompetent and to funnel all her money away with the baby, with the rape baby from the rapists / assassin Stephen Binion, who I was introduced to in San Francisco because he was the pickpocket that stole my phone, and they used this man that they put him on me. After I went down to HSBCA Bank and told HSBCA Bank who I was, showed them my birth certificate, showed them that I am a sovereign related to royal loyalty. The real English bloodline, not the British, German, Nazi, Rothschild bloodline. And I wanted to know how much my strong man bond was worth. It's a bond. So 2 weeks after I did this, HSBCA Bank and the head execs go to jail after they've been fired. This is the HSBCA Bank that's right across the street from Rob Shillman Manor in downtown Paris. I did this. So Stephen Binion stole my cell phone so the stockbroker couldn't get in touch. His card was stolen too. I just never went back. I got my arm broken. Paris became a living hell. So then as I was forced back to the United States, back into my handler's fake mother's home, where I underwent severe mind control and reprogramming. And I have this thing in my arm now that the government put in my arm that they're literally using against me to try to keep my memory from being blocked. But that doesn't even work. They're assholes. So what's next? I mean, literally, you got a thing in my arm. I don't know what the fuck it is, but I know that there's something coming from it. You're trying to keep my memory locked down, and it doesn't work. Because if it did work, you wouldn't be listening to this. So to the CIA pedophile some bucks. This to you. I know you put Caesar Augusta on me and we're house. You cast a lot of fucking spells for me to not see what the hell this man was. We are almost literally broke right now. You want how we to put me in the knees slumping on the streets because you did this to us, and literally what I'm not speaking about, you're afraid of having people know. Because you raped this woman and tried to breed rape babies with her, actually did it, and stripped her dry of any financial assets now. Caesar Augusta was the last of that. And this mafia lawyer trash kingpin I can't find anywhere. And you expect us just to roll over and play dead and to end up homeless in the Mexican streets? This is what they plan, people. I want you to see the real face of the fucking CIA. This is what they do. I have one question to ask them. One question. On behalf of me and her, what the fuck did we do to you? What did we do to you? What did we do to you for you to take our money and to give all the CIA assholes that you pay to drive right past our fucking house like clockwork, girl? To throw nanotechnology through my window with Wi-Fi frequencies into my home from their fucking cars. All these motherfuckers driving by on your newly laid satanic street that you laid out the same night when I put all these motherfucker cars up online. Yeah, people, they called in their Minutemen and they laid all of this tar shit that is filled with demonic spells right outside the main street of my house, and it's been almost 3 weeks, and they haven't even touched the other side of the street. It's still cemented. But on my side of the street, you got this demonic fucking tar. So literally, when you look, and if you look at the videos that I just shot, you can see that there's tar laid on the side of the street that's next to my house. And the other side of the cement, they did this because they had Minutemen. These Minutemen get together after they sacrifice kids. They mix children's blood into this fucking tar. And then they have these cars drive past them that are demonically charged. And when I say demonically charged, I mean cars like Audis, fucking VWs. That's all you stupid fucking Mexicans drive. Really? These Nazi cars. And then they're hooked up to Wi-Fi and a satellite. And people aren't even conscious of it. And so then they drive by and they're throwing like little demonic spells off the sacrificial fucking tar that's laying right next to my house through my window at me and Laurel Aston 247. And then they have Alberto is my neighbor, who's a demonic enforcer. Then they have the key meat maker, the guy that drives the fucking red Mazda across the street. Some of my videos, I don't know if I'm gonna put it up in this one. I'll put up the fucking links so you can see all the cars. And then they have the other two CIA assholes in the gray SUV and his bitch white drives the red VW. So they're getting all of their demonic casting spells and new information from this fucking street, and the cars passing by, passing highly encrypted information to them via Wi-Fi. So they this street that has blood enough sacrificing Mexican kids. And then they use demonic spells of the sacrificial blood that these people drive on. And then through Wi-Fi, through EEG brain mapping, which Alberto has, because he has the EEG machine. Him and his wife, and his little demonic little fucking daughter who they've been training to be a CIA assassin. Just like all of them are. This is what they do. I bet you didn't know I knew this CIA. So keep sending your cars are passing by. Every fucking one of them are being tagged. Every fucking one of them are being watched. But you think that no one else noticing? A lot of these motherfucking cars are just driving around there in circles past my home. Is this shit normal? I mean, all you're demonic cars, they're just doing fucking big circles. Trying to pass cells into my head to shut down my memory. So I don't remember what killed my dad. Well, anyway, this is Cancun, people. I don't really know how much longer I have. My phone's out. I feel like a completely fucking asshole because I let this asshole take fucking $70,000 in more Assassin's fucking jewels and I mean, when she found out, when she talked to this man, she went off the deep end when we told her there's no money, you know. You really be one of the lowest fucking life forms on Earth. And the universe, actually. To do something like this to people. And I pray to every God, each and every one of you fucking die. You don't deserve to fucking breathe the very air of the earth. I mean, you're the scum of the fucking universe. All of you. Every last one of you, your fucking kids, every fucking one of you in your bloodline. Because you eat and then live off the complete suffering of the innocence. And you don't give a flying fuck because you're so fucking psychopathic and demented. Have a good day, people. Stay blessed. Oh, and Abba's daughter Jade's phone number is 310-941-7433. I grew up next to Jade. I feel sorry for Jade because she's a victim. Her father was a fucking psychopath. What can you do when you're born into a life of demons? Stay blessed. Peace.